Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Diversitas. Diversitas is a show at the intersection of diversity, business, and culture. Although I was thinking about it a couple of days ago, what is this show really about? And it's about interesting people doing interesting things. And so we have a very interesting person on today, Charles Duncan, or Charles L. Duncan Esquire. That's his full title. And his title for his job is even more impressive than his name. He is the Chief Compliance, Legislative, and Cultural Affairs Officer for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. Try to say that 3 times. I dare you. Charles, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. It's great to see you.
I really appreciate you joining us. I really do mean that in terms of this show being about interesting people doing interesting things. And you're the one of the guys that I have seen really over the past 15 years really kind of grow to do more and more interesting things. I have seen you in the political arena. I've seen you in other arenas. You are providing service to the country. You are a father, a husband. I mean, you're just doing it all. You just got all the bases covered. So I wanted to talk to you about kind of what you're doing now and a little bit about your story. So why don't you tell everyone what you are doing now?
So I am the chief, as you mentioned, the Chief Compliance, Legislative, and Cultural Affairs Officer. We joke and say I have the longest title at the commission. Our compliance department is made up of the internal audit department, and they conduct all of the commission's audits. And we have the advisory services and business compliance department. The advisory services portion, we have a pool of vendors and consultants that we facilitate and use them for special projects. And the business compliance portion of that department essentially goes out and makes sure that our contractors and vendors are hitting their contractual numbers, whether it be NPL numbers, minimum participation numbers, or whether they're just complying with state, local, and federal laws. Also, we recently created, and is under my leadership, is a business improvement analytics department. That department is our foray into really using analytics in a organized fashion to improve the business of the commission and find efficiencies within the commission. Also have the Legislative Affairs Department, which serves as our primary liaison for our commissioners and commission, interfacing with any elected official, whether it's state, local, or federal, and with the governor's office, executive office. And then finally, we have the Diversity and Inclusion Department, which basically handles all diversity and inclusion matters for the commission.
So that's a lot.
Yes.
How long have you been in this particular position?
October of 2020 is when I pretty much took over this position. Prior to that, I was Director of Legislative Affairs for the Commission for 5 years.
And so what made you go to the Turnpike in the first place?
So at the time, prior to coming to the Commission, I was Special Assistant to State Senator Vincent Hughes, who serves as the Senate Democratic Appropriations Chairman. And with the new administration coming in, and there was a conversation about having a better relationship between the legislature and the commission, and honestly, at the real root cause of it was greater diversity at the commission, and that's still something we're working on today. Is adding enhanced diversity at the commission, whether that is with our employee complement or with our vendors and contractors.
So for people who don't really know or understand what the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission is, why don't you give folks a little background? Like, what is the commission? What do they do? What are they responsible for?
Yes. So the commission itself, the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission itself, was founded, I believe, in 1938 with the sole task of building what is the Pennsylvania Turnpike. The Pennsylvania Turnpike opened October 1st of 1940. The commission oversees 559 miles of roadway. There are 5 commissioners. 2 are appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate, and 1 sits ex officio. Ex officio, that's the Secretary of Transportation. Currently, the Secretary of Transportation, Yasmin Gramian, is our chair. And we have, from the eastern part of the state, we have Commissioner Waduda Ahmed and Pat Dion. And from the western part of the state, we have Commissioner Bill Lieberman and former Senator John Wozniak.
So I know before, obviously I have a little bit of history with the Turnpike Commission, but before I did have that history, I kind of didn't know the difference between the Turnpike Commission and the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, or PennDOT. So can you tell people what the difference is?
So the commission, some people, we jokingly say we're the little brother to PennDOT. So again, we have primary responsibility, sole responsibility for what is the Turnpike Main Line, which runs from the Delaware River to Gateway, Ohio. All of the extensions in the west, whether it's the Amos K. Hutchinson bypass, the Southern Beltway, the Montfayette Expressway, and the Northeast extension that takes you from pretty much Plymouth Meeting all the way up to Scranton. Any other interstate or highway in the Commonwealth is PennDOT's responsibility. A neat fact about PennDOT is if you add up all of the road that each Department of Transportation is responsible for in the Northeast, in the New England section, to include Connecticut, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, all of those guys, if you put them all together, PennDOT is bigger than all of them together. So they cover a lot. A lot of times when people think of PennDOT, they think of like 95, Interstate 81, 83, 80, but there are also other, as PennDOT lingo's 3-digit and 4-digit roads that they have to plow and maintain and take care of as well.
Is the Turnpike Commission primarily self-funded, or do they get tax dollars?
So the overwhelming majority of our revenue is from toll dollars. We do get a very small portion of funding from the oil company franchise tax, but that money from 1985 is legislated to build the Southern Beltway and the Montfayette Expressway. So we really do not get any federal or state subsidy. The little bit of money we do get for the oil company franchise tax is used to build a road, which we've been building, for 30 years now.
Mm. So you talked a little bit about, when you came over, part of it was because of an increased interest or emphasis on diversity. What did you see when you got there, and where are you now as it relates to diversity efforts?
So when I got to the commission in 2015, there were only 2 African-American directors. It was myself and our director of diversity and inclusion, Monica Ojo. And honestly, we had our first African-American commissioner in Mike Pratt, and then we had our second African-American commissioner in Barry Drew, and then we just had our third African-American commissioner with Waduda Ahmed. So historically, there has not been a lot of diversity at the commission.
And by the way, this is all with the same governor, is that right?
Correct. So Mike Pratt came under Rendell.
Oh, he came under Rendell.
Barry Drew and Waduda came under Governor Wolf. So only in the last couple of gubernatorial administrations have we seen African Americans become commissioners at the commission. There has, up until my appointment, until my current position, there's never been an African American to hold a position above director. So, so technically and honestly, I'm the first African American to hold a C-suite position at the commission. But one of the things that unfortunately or fortunately has came out of the incident surrounding George Floyd this past summer is that our CEO reflected and realized that the commission needed to do more. And at his direction and with my assistance and Monica's assistance, we established a task force on racial and social justice. And that is kind of how and at that time I was still under my prior position. So that's kind of how I started to move into the diversity and inclusion space for the commission. And as we built out that task force, our CEO realized that, the position and the significance of diversity and inclusion needed to be elevated to the C-suite level. So that is how I took my position. And he said, well, I'm mad, I'm gonna give you a bunch of other stuff to do.
So in that position, so first of all, before we get to what you're doing now, is the task force still in effect? Is it still doing stuff? What's the status of that?
So the task force was officially rolled out in August. In October, we had our first kind of like coming together. And a task force, we at the time of standing up the task force, we had about 36 Turnpike employees who volunteered to participate on the task force. From October up until January, they met in subcommittees to address topics such as transportation equities, racial social healing, environmental justice, various issues that touch on racial and social justice in the transportation space. Those subcommittees reported out and made recommendations to our CEO just this past month. And we are presenting next Tuesday to our commissioners on our findings and recommendations for how the Turnpike can improve as an organization around this topic of race and social justice. And after this presentation next week, we're actually going to transition into the task force becoming a permanent feature within the commission. One of the recommendations that, I personally wouldn't have known that this needed to be a permanent thing, but I'm just one person at the commission. Right. But all of our task force members agreed that this needs to be permanent. We need to have consistent communication with our employees about topics around racial and social justice and how we can improve as an organization, improve individually around this topic as Turnpike employees.
So let me ask you this. Can you break any news in terms of recommendations that have been made by the task force?
I mean, the task force made several recommendations. One of them, interestingly enough, a lot of the recommendations we have started to implement in their infancy. So one of the recommendations and one of the things we've already been working on is diversity recruiting. So what we're going to do at the commission, we have long had the CEO internship fellowship program, which was targeting diverse students from across the Commonwealth to intern with the commission. Well, we're looking to take it to the next level. So what we're attempting to do, and what we're working over the next year, is how can we get kids in through the CEO fellowship internship program and basically create a pipeline for them to work at the commission ultimately. In the fall, with the work of our D&I Department of Southern Rock Consultants, we did like a once over of our organization to see where we were. And we are a predominantly white and predominantly male organization, which is par for the course for the transportation space. So diversity recruiting is very important. Another recommendation that came out and that we will take a deeper dive into is whether or not we need to increase our minimum participation level on all of our contracts. One of the things right now, we focus a lot of our NPL in construction and engineering. I know our Chief Technology Officer, Bob Taylor, is looking at instituting an NPL in the IT space. And another recommendation that came out, and it ties back to diversity recruiting, but how can we be better partners? So one of the things that we're going to be looking to implement is a partnership with the Department of Corrections and the Probation and Parole, and seeing how we get more ex-offenders an opportunity to work at the commission. The commission is a great organization. It can actually be what an ex-offender needs to become, as people like to say, a fully functioning member of society. Right. To me, is giving somebody an opportunity to work and have dignity of their work. So we're looking to partner with the DLC. We've had preliminary conversations with them. We understand their parameters, and we actually are to the point of understanding they actually can train ex-offenders while they're still on the inside. So we can partner with them and have them identify that we need X amount of employees that have a Class A CDL. So when they come out, they can come work for the commission as an equipment operator at one of our maintenance sheds along the system. And one of the things that we're also working on is we're trying to partner with Cheyney and Lincoln University to create a dedicated internship opportunity for them, so that students who are at Cheyney and Lincoln know that they can come to the commission for 1 or 2 summers, see if they like the transportation space, see if they like the Turnpike, and come work at the Turnpike. And it doesn't have to be in engineering. It could be in finance. It could be in IT. It could be in compliance. Is a plethora of opportunities in the transportation space, but most people think of only engineering, and there are more than just engineering opportunities in transportation.
I know that at least a couple of years back, I don't know how long it's been, but I know it's been at least 2 years, that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania did a disparity study as it related to their procurement and how they deal in the diversity space. And one department that came in for, I think, a lot of critique was PennDOT. And so the question I have is, has the Turnpike had any conversations with PennDOT around kind of diversity and what the respective agencies are doing around diversity?
Yeah, so PennDOT recently, I think in the last several months, have done a set aside program for to increase minority participation levels. We have implemented and we have advertised recently a set aside program around engineering to get engineering firms, the diverse business engineering firms in and get an opportunity to work with the commission. I mean, again, traditionally, when people think of disparity, they think of construction engineering, but we believe there's opportunities in the IT space, within the legal space, and within the banking and finance space. There's other opportunities to even include audit firms. So we're trying to look at the entire playing field and create an opportunity for everyone, just not engineering firms and construction firms.
So internally, I work with organizations all the time, and leadership may oftentimes be in a different place than kind of staff and rank and file. Where do you see kind of the rank and file of the Turnpike as it relates to what you guys are trying to do around diversity right now?
I honestly believe the Task Force on Racial and Social Justice opened a lot of employees' eyes. Because one of the things we set out in the very beginning, one of my very first comments is that, this kind of a safe space, speak your mind, feel like you will not be judged. And honestly, we had employees from the eastern part of the state, whether it's down at our Plymouth maintenance shed or our eastern regional office, to the central part of the state, whether it's our central administrative office building or some of our sheds or engineering facilities. And that diverse group and diverse political, social, just different upbringings allowed and fostered a conversation of, we might be different, but we're all trying to row in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that is helping us for people to understand what we're trying to accomplish. When I am able to say we commission and study and we're majority white and majority male, and we have the numbers to back it up. This is why we have to do what we have to do. We need more women in this space. We need more minorities in this space. So if you can look to your left and your right, you can see that you are a minority. And this is the reason why it's important to our CEO and our commissioners that we, diversify our complement and even take it to the next step and diversify our vendors and contractors.
So I know that you are, well, let me ask the question as opposed to making a statement. Are you still in the reserves?
I am. I'm a JAG officer in the Pennsylvania National Guard.
And so how long have you been doing that? When did you join?
August 20th of 2015.
Wow. So a lot of when people talk about diversity, particularly in large organizations, they do often point to the military as a success story in terms of how large organizations can deal with diversity. I mean, has that been your experience that the military has been more successful as it relates to diversity than other organizations?
I will say, at least for the commission, I won't say they're more successful, but we are sensitive to ensuring that they have opportunity. A great example, and I mean, this is kudos to our CFO, Rick Dreyer, but we will be issuing Act 44 bond issuance here. And to his credit, he has assembled a team from the bankers to the lawyers to the advisors is 100% diverse. And that includes a minority-owned bank, minority-owned law firm, a veteran-owned a bank. So I wouldn't say that a veteran-owned company has a leg up or they've achieved more, but they are always in the mix when we're looking to discuss diverse businesses. Because to us, a diverse business is whether you're minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned. Diverse business is essentially a non-majority firm, and we want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity at the table.
But in terms of, I guess what my question is in terms of the way the military deals with diversity internally, like
Okay.
how, is it your experience that in your military experience that that the military has been more successful with respect to diversity in terms of bringing diverse people in terms of promoting diverse people, as opposed to other areas you're in your civilian life that you have experienced?
I would say the military is just starting to get um, truly diverse and embrace diversity. You will see, you will not see a lot. I'm an officer, I'm a captain. You will not see a lot of African American officers. Of all the JAG officers in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, only two of us are African American. And I believe you may know the other one is Vochi Bennett.
Wow.
So like he and I are the only two minority Black JAG officers. There's only one female JAG officer in the Pennsylvania National Guard. That, I mean, that's not indicative of everything, but that shows you that the military still struggles with diversity. Additionally, the big army has instituted recently a policies of we all have the best example I give you is an employee evaluation form. And whenever you go before a promotion board or someone wants to look you up in the military, they pull your officer record brief, and your officer record brief has a picture of you. The military is now moving away from having a picture because they believe that a picture may influence decisions. That if you're not a white male and you have a generic name like I may have, and you don't know that I'm Black, you might promote me whether or not an unconscious bias may come in. So the military is constantly refining itself and is becoming better. You will see a lot more minority senior leaders in non-commissioned officer space. There are only a handful. There are no African American generals in Pennsylvania. So I mean, it is something that the military will continue to struggle with. But again, you will see a lot of minorities in the enlisted space, not necessarily in the officer space.
So, I know you came to this world that you're currently in through politics. Do you come from a political family?
I would say no, but many people say yes. My father was an attorney as well. Charles Duncan Jr. He went by Charlie Duncan. He was a CCB Moore acolyte, Bowman, Congressman Nick's acolyte, North Philadelphia, born and raised. So he came up in that era, and I joke that he never left North Philly. He refused to leave North Philly, but he was a CCB Moore, Robert N.C. Nick's acolyte.
And so I'm assuming that was your introduction into politics, through your father?
Through my father, and then it was interesting. I had two political influences in my life. It was my father, and then my godmother, my mother, close friend, was a daughter of Judge and Marie Lederer. So coming up, I also had touch points with the Lederer family. So between my father and the Lederer family, that was my introduction to politics.
And so, at what point did you decide that you were going to get into it kind of as a profession?
College. It was, interestingly enough, I was a class. I went to St. Joe's University, and I was a political science major, and part of one of my courses was I had to do an internship, and I got an internship with Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown, and did that internship. And her former chief of staff, Dave Ford, reached out, and after interning for the councilwoman, I interned for Congressman Fatah. Worked in that office for a couple months. And then after I graduated school, I said, I'm going to Wyatt in Harrisburg, because Harrisburg, it has to be
right.
An opportunity for me there. So I reached back out to Dave Ford in the councilwoman's office, and she connected me with Senator Vincent Hughes. And that's how I met Senator Hughes, and kind of how I got here today.
Wow. I wanted to thank you, Charles Duncan, for coming on. I know you are a busy man by virtue of your many titles. So thank you so much for coming on today. I also wanted to thank the audience for listening today, for watching today, and we look forward to having the conversation and keeping it going. Thanks much. Take care.